Welcome to this week's episode of Your Stock Request for the 4th of December. Hi, I'm Michael Gable, Managing Director at Fairmont Equities. Your Stock Request is the weekly video where I take your requests and analyse the share price charts. So this week we have Terracom, Washington Soul Patts, CSL, Nordic Resources and Prairie Lithium. So if you have a request, please send it through. Make sure you've signed up to the free newsletter, but our best recommendations come out on Tuesday in the Dynamic Investor Report. So make sure you're getting that report. But if you do enjoy these videos, we'd love you to share them on social media or even leave us a review. Our main business is in portfolio management. So if you'd like my personal help in managing your share portfolio, then please give me a call. And the advice here is general only. So we've got the weekly chart here of Terracom. As we can see, it's sort of shed about 90% of its value there, built a bit of a base. It is one that we looked at only a few weeks ago in the Dynamic Investor. What I noted was this very obvious sort of cup and handle. So it was forming a low, trading sideways, very obvious sort of cup and handle, congesting under the line. And it was just a matter of time until it gave a breakout. So that's what we got yesterday. So good volume, very big move with the breakout. So that's, it's pretty much still a buy. It should recover substantially from here if that's a major low. I mean, an initial target, often you can measure the depth of this pattern. So if you're looking at, let's call it 4 cents and add that on top, then, you'd be looking at an initial target of sort of in the high 13s, but it could do more than that. Okay, Soul Patts. So again, one that we've looked at in our newsletter, possibly even in these videos. So we noted a while ago it was trading sideways, so it was a very clear trading range, and basically it was just a case of waiting. If you got a breakout, that was the buy signal. So upside break, had a very lovely run, has come back sharply, does seem to be testing that, so we could see that sort of little bounce off there. So far a successful retest, so that's now support. So basically if you're in it, you'd use this low as your stop, so it should recover from here, but obviously if it gets back into that range, that's a negative. CSL, so if we sort of zoom out, this is one that we've looked at before. Obviously over the years we've had this sort of clear trading range that we keep drawing in, and obviously it's a stock that's been, I guess, a bit of a buy at the bottom of the range and to sell at the top. So that worked until recently. It broke underneath, so we could see it broke down, came back up to retest the underneath of the range, and it's fallen again. So basically risk is now to the downside with CSL. So this big pattern here, where at one stage it would have possibly been a big sort of bull flag if you got the upside break, because it's broken lower, we can now say that this is just a big distribution pattern, and now CSL is entering a downtrend. Okay, Nordic. So if we just have a look at, there's not much to go off. We could see it's only really recently there's been some proper trading. So what we can see is a nice run off, good volume on the way up. Looks like volume sort of decreased a bit on the way down, and then it's come back in on the way up. So, I guess that's a positive. If I go back to the weekly, we could see that that was, I guess, a breakout. It's come back and it's retested that old resistance level and bounced. So I think if you're in it, you'd say, okay, well, again, we'd have a stop under this low. We don't want to see it under that low. And, should head higher, but, the small negative is sort of yesterday's price action. It sort of did give up a lot of that big move, and there was a bit of volume. So ideally, we don't really want to see it in the short term come back anymore. But I think you just have your stop there at 14 cents. Okay, PL9. So look, another one, not really much to go off. I mean, if we look at the weekly chart, it's still a fairly poor long-term chart. If I flick back to the daily, I mean, what can we make out of this? Well, we could see there was a good move here and there was good volume. It's fallen away again, another spike higher on good volume, but just doesn't seem to be holding in. So if I go back to the weekly chart, I mean, it looks like, based on this peak here where the selling came in and it used to be a bit of a support level, you'd say that around this sort of 13-cent line is where you've got resistance. So ideally you'd want to see it be above 13 cents. So if it's trending and it's above 13 cents, then I suppose the chart would be looking a bit more positive, but I think at the moment there's not really much to go off. Okay, well that's all for this week. If you have a request, send it through and we'll try to cover it next Thursday.